Hey everybody, welcome back. James here again with you. In a minute, I'll show you what this is. This is a follow-up video to the last video I uploaded to explain what I was talking about. A lot of people kind of understood and a lot of people didn't get what I was saying. And I'll show you what this is and tell you what this is here in a bit. But I took some suggestions from that video. As you see, I got a little whiteboard so I could show off what I was talking about and do some drawing and show you some diagrams and all that stuff. So anyway, so if you're trying to get the most out of your setup rifle with the scope, or doesn't matter what it is, whether again if it shoots a pellet, a rimfire, center fire, doesn't matter. This video is intended to get the most out of your setup, and if you already think you're getting the most out of it, then this video isn't for you. But if you're having trouble finding out why your gun group's really good and then all of a sudden it doesn't, this video is for you. Now, with that said, again, if you notice when you're shooting, if you have a paper downrange, a target, and one group is tighter than the other because you're moving positions, you're moving your scope over left or right, that is the reason why. And the long answer is, which I'm going to answer in this video, as to why that's happening, and I have valid proof of this. Many videos I watch, not even my channel, many videos I see across YouTube, the same thing is happening. They're moving the reticle horizontally over to their next target or next point of impact, and the group is either tightening up or it's spreading out. So again, doesn't matter what projectile it is, it's going to happen because of an angle. So to start off, we can measure our horizontal level, which is your spirit bubble level if you have one. If not, that's what you can use to measure your cant. And then you have a cosine, which measures the degrees of elevation up or down, which is your tilt. Well, there is a last measurement that many people don't know about, and it's called a slant. So let me cover this. This is what I was telling you guys about in the last video, and I really didn't write it down or show in person on camera what I was talking about. So you have your axis. So if you're not a machinist, an engineer, or anything like that, or if you've never used a CAD system, you probably would never known about this. In school, in graphs, we're taught that Y is up and down vertical, so it can technically go all the way through this up and down, and X is our horizontal. Well, that's the two measurements we can take with a bubble level and a cosine. So those we can measure. Okay? Well, then you have your Z-axis. And what that is slant. That's the one that we can't measure, or I guess you could measure if you see this video and you didn't really know about it. And that's, again, these two right here are on the rifle themselves. What most videos, I've never seen a video actually tell a person to, or show a person to show how square or perpendicular the target is to your muzzle. That's right. If your target is not facing you directly at 90 degrees, you're not going to get the most out of your rifle and setup, because you're going to be shooting it, and I know that's exaggerating, but like that. So if you're aiming here and your rifle is offset, the bullets are going to land somewhere over here or over here. And a lot of people sit there and say, well, it's because I changed my scope, I'm getting zero better when I go to the range and all this and that. I've heard all kinds of things. And I'm not saying it didn't happen, it didn't get better for you. I'm just saying, why didn't figure out why it wasn't working, where there wasn't supposedly holding zero, or your rifle or setup and all this and that. I've heard everything. I've heard it all, being in the shooting community on YouTube since 2011. I've heard a lot of stories, and so and I test everything. But anyway, so this is the one that we can't, or I should say that most people don't even talk about, if any. So if your target is down here and you're measuring horizontal 0 off of this, and you're 0 and you're 0 degrees, there's a third 0 that nobody ever mentions. So the Z. Well, this is the degree that you have to worry about right here. So again, if your rifle, which say this origin right here, this is the origin, that's the center of all 3 points. If your rifle is not at exact 0, the first 2 zeros, this isn't going to matter. So again, make sure that your scope is square, make sure your reticle is centered to your bore, and then you can test for this Z. And I'll show you how to do that in this video, because I've never seen anybody do it besides myself on camera, to make sure that your target is perpendicular to your muzzle. So let's assume that you have everything squared up and ready to go, ready to get on the bench and shoot. Now you're ready to square your target. And again, nobody ever talks about making sure that their target is perfectly angled towards the muzzle, or square. 90 degrees, I should say. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick using a Mason line setup, using the 3-4-5 method. And if you never heard of it, that's how you find a right angle, whether you're building a fence, anything carpentry, whatever it is. Many people use it all the time. So to make a right angle, one of these legs in a triangle has to be 4 units of whatever, millimeters, inches, meters, centimeters, it doesn't matter. The smallest one has to be 3. So I'm using feet in this example. And then your hypotenuse, your diagonal line, has to be 5. Excuse me. So you could double this, you could do 6, 8, 10 or whatever, but point is to find the right angle. And I found the right angle at my target, and then I bring it back to my bench. So let me show you. Okay, so here's my Mason line showing the squareness of my target to my rest downrange at 50 yards. So I started this, and if you don't know, I use the 3-4-5 method. So this line is 3 feet from that post to that post, and from this post to that post is 4 feet, and from this post across to that is 5 feet. So that's the 3-4-5 method that many people use when building fences or decks or anything to get a right angle. So this right here is a right angle. And then I'm going to put my target, centered that up to that post, since it's centered all the way down here to my bench, and show you guys how this works. Okay, so we have our Mason line set up, as you see. So what I did was, and in this example, Mason line, I brought this line straight back to my bench, to my rifle. So I am straight to my target, which my point of impact should be here. That's my point of impact, squared to my muzzle. And in theory, it should be one hole. And if you guys seen me in the past, you've seen it possible that my 22 LR, which I'll be using that in this video. I found some more 22 LR on the shelf recently, some CCI standard velocity, but I'll be using that in this video to show you as a perfect example when everything is lined up. So All right, well, you could see that if everything is perfectly lined up, downrange should be the exact same point of impact. Like, again, I've heard it all. I've heard everything. It's like, well, you know, using cheap ammo, cheap reticle, cheap scopes, cheap rifle. I've heard it all, guys. That doesn't matter. Especially with me shooting, the type of shooting that I do, none of what everybody says matters really. I mean, unless I actually see what happens and I could read targets, that doesn't matter to me. Because of the shots that I pulled off in the past and seeing other people shoot. So again, what happens is this is a right angle to my point of impact from my muzzle. And I think I mentioned in the last video what I was talking about was the scope reticle. If your scope is not square, the difference in scope height to your bore could be major downrange, which that's, again, making sure you need to do that. But anyways, guys, I hope this little whiteboard helped in describing what I was talking about. Again, using the 3-4-5 method, you know, using stakes and a string mason line to my bench at 50 yards. The shooting was at 50 yards. So it is what it is, and I know you're going to say, well, that's a lot of work, and you're right, but you got to put your homework in to figure out what's going on instead of just giving up and saying, well, it's just because of this, it's because of that. How do you actually know? If you don't know, that's the difference between me and everybody else. I actually put the work in, not just sitting behind the gun and pulling the trigger. There's a difference. Anybody could do that. Just like, for instance, the shooters that I study, Chris Kyle being one of them, he says, and this is in his own words, quote, that he's just a monkey pulling the trigger. He's said that many times. But what I actually do is I study the old ways, back in the day, 1800s long-range shooters that could actually use a rifle, which was a Schutzen, the most accurate rifle still to this day, and put 10 shots within a quarter, be covered by a quarter at 200 yards. And these guys were one of the most accurate shooters back in the day, and there's still some that shoot Schutzen, but they're not as popular as they were. So just going by that, to me, that right there tells me something. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you as to why I come up with the theories that I do and test them, because I study the old ways. Not the new, new high-tech stuff. It's like, well, if you don't have this, you can't do that. And it's like, no, it's not. I proved so many things throughout my tenure on YouTube, but again, that doesn't matter. I just wanted to share this and how I found it, because it works. I mean, I have multiple groups, multiple pictures of my gun shooting really good when I move a target or moving my reticle to where it's relaxed and not forcing the gun. And that's another thing. If you sit your gun down on the bag and try to put your reticle on your target and it just wants to sway, the gun's telling you something. But anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know that. Again, I hope this helped. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button. We'll see you on the next one.